Hi friends and Israel fans, come and join me in another episode of Israel with Moshe. We spoke before about public buildings, we spoke about the theater, we spoke about the importance of public buildings in Roman culture. We're standing now inside the Hippodrome. A hippodrome is like an ovalic shape, almost like a Colosseum, although an amphitheater, which is also ovalic, was used for gladiator fights. Hippodrome was used for horse racings. If you never saw the movie Ben-Hur, go rent it and watch it. It will teach you exactly what horse racings in Roman culture were. We're talking about basically chariot racings. 2 or 4 horses controlled by one rider doing 9 rounds of a quarter of a mile. This is a quarter of a mile, the hippodrome here. And those chariots would do 9 rounds of a quarter of a mile. And the rules of the race were very, very simple. There are no rules. You can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you win. That includes breaking the wheels of the chariot next to you, pushing them so they crash against the wall, whipping them, do whatever. And the concept in Rome was that if you win the chariot racings in the hippodrome, you're a leader type. You're worthy to lead the Roman Empire. Lots of times the Caesar himself would go down and compete in the arena. Pretty sure that before he went to compete, somebody would say, hey, number 3 over there is the Caesar, I wouldn't push him from his horse if I was you, but it was very common for people to go race, and those people who would win, they would become the celebrities in Rome. Celebrities in Rome were actually the people who won the horse races and the gladiator fights. We have a totally wrong idea about gladiator fights because as Christians, lots of Christians think, okay, gladiators were Christians, poor Christians were thrown to the lions. That's true. Lots of slaves, lots of Christians, lots of people were thrown to the lions, but this was only the warm-up to the real games. The real gladiators, they were trained warriors, trained soldiers. They would fight one against the other for money and for titles. Very rarely they would die in battle. Lots of times when the gladiator who wins would turn to the audience and ask the audience, what shall I do with him? And the audience would say, keep him with us or send him up to heaven. And lots of times they kept him with us because they wanted to see them fighting. And so people who would win, they would get titles, they would get money, they would become the celebrities in Rome. This hippodrome was nicely decorated, as you can see around, but in this hippodrome there was only one line of seats. Usually a hippodrome is a full ovalic, there's a second line of sitting. There was no sittings over there because over there is the Mediterranean Sea, and they wanted people to be able to sit and have the view of the Mediterranean. So this was a very important public area for people. People would come here again to watch those shows, those games that would be organized, and once everybody are done with the games, where do you go today when you watch NASCAR and you finish with the games? You all run to the pub, to the bar. Before you run to the bar, you run to the bathrooms. That's what people did. From here, they all ran to the public toilets, and that's where we're going. So we're in the public toilets that we were talking about before. And one of the interesting things is that if you excavate a city and you find public toilets such as this is another indication that this city is a very, very wealthy city. You may look at this and go, whoa, that's public toilets? How do you see it? Where's the toilet paper? Where's the doors? There were no doors, there was no toilet paper. But the fact that somebody bothered to have public toilets with running water, with sewage, with everything, that shows that those people were very wealthy, very rich, and they were taking care of their own people, because if you didn't have this, you would go out and do whatever you did outside. Actually, in medieval times, even in Versailles, in Paris, there were no toilets. People would have chamber pots under the bed, and in the morning they would open the window and just empty that to the street. This is far more hygienic, far more clean. Romans, as I told you before, were masters in moving water from place to place, so they had sewage systems. And here, below where I sit, there's a sewage system that clears everything into a sewage system. Here in front of me, there's a small canal take your left hand, you take water from this little canal to wash. Sometimes you take soft leaves on a stick, put them in the water and wash. And literally people sat one next to the other, cheek to cheek, because that's the whole idea of public toilets. In Ephesus, in Turkey, we find perfect toilets like this, made of marble, with a seat, with a back, so really a king seat where you sit down, relax, and that's a good indication to the wealth of Caesarea around us.